is that we're differentiating between nurturing and numbing. Nurture helps you feel better. Numbing makes you feel worse. So for example, you take a song. Hey everyone, welcome back. This is your video training on how to self-soothe. I'm going to take you through a process, a three-step process on how to self-soothe. I'm also going to explain what self-soothing is and why it's important for you, for your life, for your relationships. So what is self-soothing? Self-soothing is the ability to take yourself from an emotion that's really, really uncomfortable and doesn't feel good to helping yourself to feel better. Now, I'm really conscious not to use words like bad emotion, good emotion, because emotions are not good and bad. They just feel unpleasant within us, but the emotions themselves are not bad. And so that's also an important distinction to make, that we don't have to label the emotion as being positive or negative, even though it might feel that way in our body. An emotion is an emotion, and we're not wrong or bad for having it, and the emotion is not wrong or bad either. So if self-soothing then is the ability to take yourself through an uncomfortable feeling and bring yourself to the other side and really process it, if that's the case, then why is it that that's important? It's important for a number of different reasons. Obviously, we want to have the ability to move through an emotion that doesn't feel very pleasant in our bodies, right? We don't want to stay stuck in sadness and anger and fear because it doesn't feel like a very pleasant experience for us. And also, when we're in those highly charged emotional states, we really lose the ability to rationalize, to work through problems and issues, and it's also just not a very good place to spend our lives. We're not our highest and best selves when we feel upset. And also, when it comes to relationships, how many times, and I'm going to hold my hand up here, how many times have you sent the email when you were angry, or said something when you were frustrated, or made a decision about your career when you felt sad or disappointed with an outcome of something? It's not the place where we want to be reacting from. And so the ability to move ourselves through that emotion is really, really important, because then we're able to really maintain our relationships and not lash out through anger, frustration, sadness, whatever it might be. And we're able then to come at it, come at the relationship, or at the challenge in a way that is a lot more grounded, and we're going to get a much more positive result and productive result from that. So let's get into our three-step process then. And by the way, I'm sorry for that I keep moving the camera around. I'm just trying to find the best angle because it's really beautiful here. And maybe at the end I'll pan around and I'll show you where I am, because it is just stunning. So the three-step process then to self-soothing, to help ourselves move through those uncomfortable feeling emotions, it's actually a little similar to the dating drama empowerment method. And if you don't know what that is, it's what's the pattern? Where does it come from? How do we heal it? It's a very, very similar framework. The first step is name the emotion. Name the emotion. This might seem really basic, but it's really, really important that we get a lay of the land, that we have a foundation for what we're then going to build on and understand about how we're feeling. We need to be able to name it. Naming the emotion is also helpful, because then we don't become the emotion. When you're feeling something that's really, really strong, whether it's fear or anger or sadness, or those real, like the kind of the top four emotions, when we feel that, there's a couple things that happens. First of all, those four quadrants, which are fear, anger, sadness, and happiness. We won't talk about happiness because we don't really want to move through happiness necessarily. We can stay there, and there's nothing that we need to work through there. So fear, anger, sadness, when we're in those areas, and the reason why those four quadrants are set out that way is because that's how children feel emotions. If you ever ask a child how they feel, they will explain it like that. I feel happy, I feel sad, I'm scared, I feel angry, I feel mad, right? Or they won't necessarily express the anger, they won't necessarily articulate it, but they'll be showing it through acting out and that kind of thing. And because of that, because those four different emotions are really simplified, it can feel quite childlike, and we can feel like we're in quite a childlike state. So that's number one. Number two is that those emotions can be really overwhelming because they flood our system with different chemicals and hormones. And so the emotion isn't just in our brain, in our minds, it's in our entire body. And so by naming the emotion, by saying, I feel fear, or I am feeling sad, what that's saying to ourselves is, I'm experiencing the emotion of sadness. I'm experiencing the emotion of fear, right? And obviously you can go deeper with each quadrant. Sadness can also be heartbreak, hurt, betrayal. Anger can also be frustration. There's lots of different sub-emotions, sub-headings under each main one. And when we're able to name it, to label it, we create some distance from it. We're able to then take this emotion that's completely covering us, and we're able to like almost take it out of us and look at it and go, oh, that's the emotion of sadness. It's not who I am, it's what I'm feeling. Step number two is find the origin of the emotion. The origin is going to be two different things. Trigger, number one, and number two is going to be root, the root cause. So basically what this is once you've ascertained, I am feeling sadness, I am experiencing sadness, you can then say, when did I start feeling this? What prompted it? And you're like, well, I started feeling it like this morning. Okay, good. So what happened this morning? Well, I had that conversation with a parent and I remember feeling really unheard. Okay, go deeper with that. It reminded me of when I was small and I wasn't listened to and my needs weren't met. Okay, perfect. So can you see in that example of just talking it through, and you can either talk this through with a friend if you're able to, or you can journal it out using the prompts below, but you're able to identify what you're feeling, figure out when you started feeling it and what triggered the emotion, and then go, okay, that was the trigger, but where does that trigger come from? So we go deeper and deeper and deeper with it, and we go, oh, okay, so I'm feeling sadness because it's reminding me of, you know, my time as a kid when I didn't feel seen and heard. No wonder I'm feeling sadness. The third and final step is choose an action. Choose an action that's going to help you move through that emotion. Now, this is practical, but the steps that you take may not feel like they're really, really practical, because it might be something like do journaling or do a meditation. Like it might not be a tangible thing, but it's something that's going to help you move through it. It could be an action like taking a salt bath, reading a book, getting out in nature, going for a swim. It could be any of those things, because then we're able to have a bit of space from the emotion itself, and we're able to go, okay, so when I feel sad, what helps me to feel better? What makes me feel worse? So when I'm sad, what helps me to feel better? It's my self-talk, right? My self-talk, encouraging myself, give myself perspective, saying things to myself like, you feel sadness right now, you won't always feel this way, and you'll feel better soon. But right now you're feeling sadness and that's okay. Or I'm feeling afraid. Okay, what helps me to feel better when I feel afraid? Reminding myself of all the times I've done things that scare me and how I've overcome it. Perfect. When I'm feeling each emotion, what makes me feel worse? Wallowing in it. Letting my self-care slide, or I am starting to numb out by watching TV or scrolling on social media or watching hours and hours of YouTube. And so we start to learn the difference. What we're really doing with this list of this helps me to feel better, this makes me feel worse, is that we're differentiating between nurturing and numbing. Nurture helps you feel better, numbing makes you feel worse. So for example, you take a salt bath, you get out of the bath, you feel better than you did when you went in. You scroll on social media for hours. How do you feel after you finish doing that? You don't feel better, you probably feel worse, right? Because you know that you've numbed out. So I really hope that helped you. I'm going to finish off by showing you where we are. I just swam in this lake. The group's gone now. There's a group of about 10 of us. We swam to the Green Buoy, which I don't think you can actually see. And there's a bit of a, can you hear the bit of a wash happening? It's a lake, so there isn't actually a tide. That'll be a sign of a boat coming probably. Thank you for being here, and remember, you can help yourself to move through difficult emotions. Sending you tons of love.